Libraries and Summer Meals Food, Fun, and Friends webinar. My name's Beth Yates, and I am the Children's Consultant here at the Indiana State Library, and I will be your facilitator today. Before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping items for you. The first one is that you will get one general LEU for this training, and LEUs are actually going to work a little differently than usual. Rather than emailing them all out to you, we're going to try something new. You're actually going to be able to download your LEU certificate at the end of this training, so be sure to stick around for that. I will give you more details when we get to that part towards the end. And also, yes, we are recording this webinar, and I will send out the recording link later to everyone who signed up for this webinar. Let's see, I also want to let you all know that to keep up with events and trainings, let's see here. One more. There we go. To keep up with events and trainings at the Indiana State Library, you can follow these social media accounts as well as the website for the Professional Development Department's Archive Training website. It's down there at the bottom. And you can also visit the Indiana State Library events calendar to find out about events at the Indiana State Library, scheduled webinars, and other library events around the state of Indiana. So be sure to check that out. One last thing, if you have any questions during this training, please feel free to type them in the chat box. It's up there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. We will take a couple of breaks for questions. For sure, between our different presenters, we can pause for questions. And we'll have time at the end as well for more questions. Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. I'm excited to have two guest speakers with us today for this training, actually three. Here at the Indiana State Library, we have Tina Skinner and Marcia Yurchek of the Department of Education Summer Food Service Program. And Tina and Marcia will be starting us off with an overview of the program and how your library can get involved. And then remoting in from the Allen County Public Library, where she is the Youth Services Manager, is Mara Honeywell. Allen County has been a program partner for several years, and Mara is very heavily involved, so she can share her perspective with us. So, Tina, if you're ready, we'll switch over to your PowerPoint and get started. There we go.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. This is Marcia Yurchek, and I am the coordinator for the Summer Food Service Program for the Indiana Department of Education. I work with Tina in our office to administer the program throughout the state. We will be presenting lots of information in a very short period of time, so always know that if you have any questions, you may call our office and we will be happy to address them specifically for your particular library site. I just want to give you a very brief overview about the Summer Food Service Program. It is a taxpayer-funded USDA federal nutrition program. It started in 1970 and operates in all 50 states. It is administered through the Indiana Department of Education here in the state of Indiana, meaning we accept and approve sponsors, we pay sponsors, and we monitor sponsors all through our office. And this program is instrumental in serving millions of low-income children every summer nationwide when school is out. Now, you may ask yourself why we need the Summer Food Service Program. So it can only operate when school is out, and as many of you are familiar with the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs that operate during the school year in the majority of our schools, many Hoosier children, about 49% of Hoosier children, participate in the free and reduced lunch program, meaning they are eligible to receive free or reduced meals during the school year. So what happens in the summer when school is out is many of those kids do suffer and go without. So the Summer Food Service Program is made to provide that gap between school lunch and helping parents who would normally be providing for their kids, but maybe they can't if they are not financially able to. And as we all know, good nutrition equals good performance at school. So there is a motivation for us to continue good nutrition throughout the summer. Last year, about 3 million meals were served in Indiana for the summer food service program. And as many of you know, our summer kind of is getting shorter and shorter with many schools moving to a balanced calendar. So that's a lot of meals served in a short amount of time. We also do serve meals in some balanced calendar schools during the school year. If they are off for at least 10 days, they can also serve summer meals during the school year. So they cannot ever operate summer food service program if school is in session. So that might answer a couple of questions. And we do know that the majority of kids who are eligible for free or reduced meals during the school year do not participate in summer feeding programs, many because maybe they don't have access to them or they just don't know about them. So we thank you for being willing to listen to our presentation today and to maybe consider how it might be a part of your community. Our goal is to provide access to free nutritious meals in all Indiana communities that are currently underserved and where they do meet the eligibility criteria. So just very briefly, the program operates through local sponsors. Libraries can be sponsors, or a school corporation can be a sponsor and have a library as a site. But there is the requirement that there is eligibility in your area. So if the area does not meet that 50% enrollment of free and reduced eligibility, then we can't approve a summer site in that area. But we have creative ways. If you're close, we try to make it happen. So if you think you might be on the edge of being eligible, it is worth it to explore it. And we have many different ways to partner as either a site or a sponsor in our the way the SFSP operates. So again, if you're in an area that you know would be eligible or you think might be eligible, contact us and we can work with you to figure out the best way to make it work in your community. Sponsors can be public or private nonprofit schools. They can be state or city governments. They can be, they must be a nonprofit organization, a public or private nonprofit camp, or a public or private university. Who's eligible to eat at these free meals? Any child who's 18 years old or younger, or if they are still participating in some type of K through 12 educational system. They can be over 18, but they still have to be in that K through 12 education system. So as you can tell, it's geared toward school children. As far as what's a meal site, that's any place where kids can eat meals. We have parks, outdoor parks that are sites. We have community pools that are sites. We have churches, vacation Bible schools, we have community shelters. Any place where kids are gathering in the summer can be a site, which is why our libraries provide such an important part of that, either as a site or informing families who come to participate in your library programs that these feeding sites are available. So we thank you again for listening to our plea. Many of the sites are open sites, meaning you don't even have to be a resident of that community to participate. If you're there visiting grandma and there's an open SFSP site, grandma can bring her children, even though they might even come from a different state. If it's an open site, that means it's area eligible, no names are taken, nothing, no enrollment is required. It's anybody can come and eat. A closed enrolled site addresses those who are specifically there for a part of a program. And again, maybe it's a program for at-risk children. Many times our at-risk children are also those who are lower income, and we can make it a closed enrolled site even if the area is not eligible. And those as long as we have 50% or more of those that are enrolled in the program are eligible, then that we can feed all the kids for free in that program. So there are many ways we can make it work. And that the closed enrolled sites do require the pre-enrollment or prior registration. So there are two ways that we determine whether a site is eligible. The closest elementary needs to have at least a 50% or higher free or reduced enrollment, or the USDA allows us to use census block data and qualify a site using census data. So the only way we know for sure is for you to contact our office. Tina in our office is our SFSP guru. She knows all the ins and outs of making things work. So again, if you feel like you might be on the bubble, don't completely dismiss it. Let's work with you to see if we might make it a possibility. So now I'm going to turn it over to Tina, who can tell you how you can get involved as a local library.
Hello everyone. I have worked with this program close to 10 years now, and I am excited because we continue to grow and expand, and we continue to have more and more library sites. So that's very exciting for us. So just like Marcia mentioned, there are several ways how you can get involved. You don't have to be necessarily a meal site. However, we want you to consider this option. You can help us promote the program. You probably have some organizations in your local area that are currently sponsors. There are various ways that we can spread the word, either directly through newsletters, social media. You can also hang up some signs or posters. If you're interested in that, we can possibly provide you some templates, or we can connect you with a local sponsor that is interested to work with you and put up their signs or posters maybe on your bulletin board in the lobby of a library and so forth. We are just trying to spread the word because we still hear that a lot of parents and caregivers are unaware that this program is available, especially when it comes to smaller communities. So it's very important that we continue to educate the communities about this program. And then, of course, you work with children day in and day out, and you know that your young patrons a lot of times need help, and nutritional piece is very critical, especially in the summertime. So you can personally talk to them about the school program that may be open site down the road, or maybe there's a church that opens their doors to the community children. So these are all the local opportunities that you can make yourself aware of and also communicate it with your clients. So we also like the atmosphere in libraries. We have heard from the sponsors that work with libraries in the past that kids just feel welcome, they feel safe, and it's very important, especially as far as parents are concerned. A lot of them may have no supervision throughout the day, and kids just come to stay off of streets and be in a cool, air-conditioned building. So we really feel like this is a perfect mix or perfect blend to bring kids to a safe place where they can not only read but have a good nutritious meal as well. And of course you provide wonderful programming. So a lot of times our sponsors, many of them school corporations, will specifically ask you, will you be offering a summer reading program? What days is that taking place? If it's only certain days of the week, we can work with our sponsors and they are willing to help you. A lot of times they will cater their meal service for specific days and times when you are offering your reading program. A lot of you have library facilities that have meeting rooms or other interior spaces where meal service can take place. However, it is not the requirement. Meals can be served outdoors, literally in the parking lot, or maybe there's a grassy area across the street. Kids can sit outside in a picnic style environment where maybe some blankets are laid down and the sponsor will come and bring the meals, and maybe somebody from library, one of your staff members, can go and read the book with kids or interact with children in some way. So there are multiple ways of how you can get involved. And we really appreciate it. For example, I had a personal experience with a local library that contacted our office earlier in the year, and this was a small rural community, and librarians were just very concerned that kids were coming in and they were hungry. They were actually eating the candy that was placed out for the patrons to just have a little snack or sweet treat at Christmas time. And when the librarians asked the children about it, they were hungry. So we are in a process right now of working with this specific library, and they are becoming a summer food service program site this summer. Just like I said, and like Marcia mentioned, we have a lot of areas across the state that are program eligible, since about half of the students in Indiana are currently on a summer food service program. But then if you are not eligible by your area, we have other ways to possibly make your program site summer food service program eligible. The big key item that I want you to know is libraries do not prepare food. They are usually the source where the meals are handed out and where children eat. And libraries typically work with a local school corporation or another community organization that provides them the meal service, and oftentimes the staff and all the supervision that's required is provided also by the sponsor. Since a lot of you have internal policies and procedures, it's important that you stay in compliance with those, and we understand that. Therefore, we have different ways we can work with you. Like we mentioned, you can become a program site under a local sponsor, or you can just promote the program through various ways. Again, get in touch with us to figure out what is the eligibility situation in your specific community, and we can help you determine what's the most beneficial approach in not only helping the kids with nutrition, but also that nutrition component being a magnet or a drawing point for you to drive attendance for the programs that you are currently offering. So we're just trying to tie these two things together in order to expose more children to educational materials while they are being fed as well. So thankfully we do have some flexibilities that are built into the program, and I want to go over these with you. First of all, you can operate a program that offers meals 5 days a week, or even 6 days a week in some cases if libraries open during the weekends. You don't have to serve every day. You can work specifically with your sponsor. You can have your program coincide with your reading programming that you may be preparing. And there is no requirement that you necessarily have to make it work throughout the whole summer. So we are very flexible, and the sponsor, the local agency you work with, are usually very understanding and accommodating concerning the dates and the times and the meal types. So you can have up to 2-3 meals per day, and these must be served during the predetermined serving times. So again, you would work with a local sponsor, and they would ask you, when do you have the highest turnout? Are you interested in feeding maybe a late breakfast right before your reading program starts, maybe a little brunch, and then following that meal, maybe a lunch. So program sponsors know that there can be even 2 meals that can be served back to back. For example, you have a reading program or some type of activity, maybe little crafts that kids are doing certain days or times. And then following, you may offer them the 3 meals that a local sponsor brings over and provides. And then that can be followed even with a snack. And a snack can be something simple and like a yogurt or parfait. And that can just make it one nice big meal. So the sponsoring agency is typically the one who provides the staff and the oversight, and they also provide you the training to make sure that you stay in compliance with federal rules that are applicable to summer food service program. Okay, so let's take a quick look at a typical summer food service program meal. If you're interested in serving breakfast, for example, there are 3 components that are required. There's always milk and a grain component, and then either fruit or vegetable. So to keep it really basic and really minimal, and thinking about the least amount of garbage and things to open and spill, a lot of sponsors may offer you an option of milk, juice, and some type of cereal. But again, these options vary based on your sponsor and what they're available to offer. So another version of breakfast may be your milk, which is a required component, and an English muffin or parfait or fruit. All these are your typical breakfast items. A key element to remember about all the summer food service program meals is the fact that these must all be consumed at the site. So it's very important that there's adequate supervision. If child does not want to consume the whole meal, they just have to discard it. But for food safety reasons and other reasons, we cannot allow the food to leave a site because kids may be bullied later or something else to where they cannot consume that meal at all. So this is built into the federal regulations that all meals must be consumed at the site. So let's take a quick look at the typical lunch or supper meal pattern. You can see that a lot of these items are just cold lunches. Oftentimes they are packaged in a sack or maybe a little plastic box. So everything comes usually pre-prepared. The staff is just handing out the meals. And your Monday may have a ham and cheese pinwheel or sandwich. And then milk, as you can see, is required every day. That's what sponsors provide. And then it's up to kids if they want to consume it, or some sponsors even offer an option of a sharing table to where if a child is not interested in drinking the milk and it's been unopened, then the milk may be placed on a sharing table on an ice, and then the sponsor takes care of that at the end of a meal service and discards the milk. But it also gives option for maybe older kids to have an additional food item such as milk. So as you can tell, sponsors vary their menu. Some of them have a lot of sandwiches and wraps. Others try to switch it up a little bit. They may serve a bagel with a cheese stick, and then the kids can make their own little new bagel with toppings. You can see that there's always fruit and or vegetable, and the main entree also includes some type of protein. It can be a cheese stick or yogurt or hummus or peanut butter. It doesn't necessarily have to be a meat. So if you are one of those small libraries and you think we have no way to store this food and how can we really pull it off, then it may be that you can only do a breakfast, which can be very simple, very low maintenance, and there are also certain menu items that may not necessarily require refrigeration, like a PB&J sandwich or Uncrustable or something like that. But typically, excuse me, your sponsor will deliver meals to you daily, and it happens within an hour of your meal service to make sure that the food is safe. So to reemphasize one of our main key critical points, that all meals must be consumed on site, is something that we can't really veer away from. We have to make sure that the food is safe, therefore it's eaten at the site. Leftovers are typically all discarded by the sponsor or whoever is helping with the cleanup. Usually it is the sponsor staff. And the meals have to be served within approved meal service time. Again, we are flexible, so if there are changes that need to be made based on the activities that change throughout the summer, or the meal service should be shortened, that is again something that can happen very easily. You communicate this with your sponsor. They tell it to us. They actually type it into our web-based system that holds all the summer food service program information. It also gets updated and approved by us, and it goes out on our public website as well. Adults are not allowed to consume any portion of a meal, so that is another key point, and Mara's going to be our next speaker, and she can speak how they have dealt with it, probably in Allen County. But typically it's not a big issue, especially if sponsors help you with appropriate signage and they're just clear in their communications that these meals are meant for children 18 and under, and it's a federal program and we do need to follow these rules. All the open sites, which is majority of summer food service program sites in Indiana, are advertised. Sponsors would advertise your site, for example, in your local library, and then you can do your advertising as well. And a lot of times sponsors provide you some materials that will help you as far as compliance and how the sites need to offer the meals. So this slide here shows you a screenshot of a typical poster that a lot of our sponsors have shared with sites that partner with them, and it basically just states the main facts that we covered with you, how the public must eat their meals at the site. Only children who are 18 and younger can receive free meals. There are some sponsors that offer substitutions, others don't do that, so it really depends on the local sponsor you work with. And also it talks about the leftover foods on this sample site rule document here. But these are generally rules that sponsors can make or adjust based on your needs or based on what you're trying to accomplish in order to keep your library nice and neat and clean. So you can work with your local agency to enforce some additional rules that may go beyond the actual meal service. So let's talk a little bit about the money and the reimbursement and the logistics. Typically, your sponsor would be the one who provides the meals to you. You wouldn't have to figure out anything concerning transportation. They would bring the food over in coolers, typically within an hour or so of meal service. So depending on your needs and your capabilities, sponsors can provide up to 2 different meals per day. A lot of our sponsors choose a breakfast and lunch. Others prefer a lunch and a snack. A few others do supper. The only option that is not allowed currently is lunch and supper. So one of those bigger meals, but not 2. And most sponsors also provide trained staff that helps to supervise the meal service, do the cleanup, keep tally of the number of meals served. It's very simple process. Like Marcia said, there's no individual eligibility required. So it's just very simple to keep track of all these numbers of meals that are served. And there's no money that goes directly to the sites. We work as a state agency, we work with sponsors. Sponsors work with you. Sponsors provide you the meals and the staff typically to man the sites. And they are also the ones who receive a reimbursement. So there's no money coming to your organization unless you as a library decide to become a sponsor. And this is just a little FYI. Last year, if you traveled around the state or Marion County, you probably ran into some type of informational signs about summer food service program. These blue signs were signs that we put out as a state agency, and we are going to print some other signs that may look a little different this summer. A lot of our sponsors make their own promotional materials, but this is just to spread the awareness about the program. And if you're going to hook up with a local sponsor, there's a high likelihood that they're going to provide you some signage and some promotional materials that you can either hang on your building or put out in front of your library to make the community aware that summer meals are available, and these materials are free of charge. So really it's a no-lose situation. Free meals, free promotion, and we are here to help you connect to your local sponsor, to an agency who may be best fit to work with you. If you want to become a site, if you're just interested in learning more and how you can know what sites are available offering meals in your community, we would be the resource for that as well. And we can connect you locally, and we can connect you with other libraries across the state that are currently program sites. So we are here to help you. We hope to hear from you. And you see our logo, or little slogan for this year is Food, Fun, and Friends. And I think you in the local library would provide all of it, because kids love to come there to have fun. They bring a lot of time, their friends, and then we, along with a local sponsor, would be there to help you to provide that food component. So I think it would really benefit you to think about it. Give us a call, shoot us an email, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So now we're going to share. I don't see any questions so far, although if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box. And we are going to switch over and hear from Maura. Oh, here. Let me close this. And I think, Maura, can you access the share your screen? We'll see if she can get her PowerPoint downloaded. And like I said, in the meantime, if anyone has any questions at all, go ahead and type them in the chat box. Oh, there it goes. But we will have time at the end for questions too. So if you have logistical questions that didn't get answered, let us know.
All right, good morning.
All right. Hi, Maura. Thank you for joining us. Can you all hear Maura? Go ahead and keep talking, Maura.
So I am so excited to give you guys a little bit of a pitch about what serving summer lunches has meant to our library. There's a couple of things that I get really excited about. One of them is the music of Jim Gill, and the other is summer lunch. So that, like if you're a big Jim Gill fan, let me just tell you, summer lunch is just as amazing. So what I think you should know is that the Allen County Public Library started serving lunches and snacks about 6 years ago. We have 14 locations throughout the city, and we serve lunch and snack at 6 of those. Frankly, if we could serve it at more, because of that 50% cutoff, but if we could serve it at more, we absolutely would. It has been an absolute game changer for services, and one thing that not only our customers consistently talk about, but our library staff does as well. So I guess my main goal for today is just to make sure that you guys know that serving a lunch and snack is one of the most impactful services that you can offer at your library. This time that I've spent today with you will be a success if I hear that a few of you have decided to participate in this service. It has been a game changer for our community for so many reasons. So at the end of the day, if you guys have any questions, I would love to answer, and I'll give you my contact information when you, at the end of this presentation. You are more than welcome to contact me. Just know that I will work hard to convince you that this is a really fantastic thing that we're able to provide. It's simple and makes a big difference. So what I want as a librarian is happy kids and happy staff. And the summer lunch has absolutely made both of those things. Some of the things that we have noticed is that, that mass of kids that are standing in the summer at the doors waiting to come in, many of those kids spend most of their day at the library. And what we have seen is that they come with some money that their parents have given them to be at the library and to be in a safe place. And they spend that money on Monster and Hot Cheetos. You know those kids, right? Every library has them. So when you consume Monster and Hot Cheetos or whatever you can get from the vending machine, there are some things that go along with it. And some of those problems are very simply eliminated by the time investment that your library has made in serving lunches. So one question that I know some people were a little bit concerned with is, how does this going to impact our staffing situation? Summers are really hectic. Summers are really busy anyway. What does this do? So I would say that for us here at ACPL, we serve a lunch. Lunches last for 1 hour. They have a very specific start time and a very specific end time. And then just about 2 hours later, we serve a snack, which has again, about a 15-minute, very specific start time and a very specific end time. So we're able to pretty accurately predict what our staff's time investment is and work our desk time around that. We actually do programming right before summer lunch and then right after summer lunch, and often right after the snack as well. So that's a room that is in transition a lot. And I wanted to show you some of the setups that we've been using just so that you can have an idea of how packed our summer scheduling is, so that you could see that it would fit in really well with yours. So this is just one of the spaces that we have here at the Allen County Public Library. This is at our main library, and I will say that this is a champagne space. This is a beautiful space. Notice those sparkling clean floors. One of the things that our customers have said again and again is that they specifically come to the library for lunches because it's a peaceful place. It's air conditioned, it's clean, and there are activities that their family can do around that. Lunches are inclusive as well. We have the open site that Tina mentioned, and that means that anybody can come to our lunches. We don't ask what their names are, we don't ask what their situation is. We have families that come, we have child cares that come, we have children by themselves that come, we have teens that come by themselves as well. So really our audience runs the whole gamut for this, and I think that makes it a really special program because there's no judgment to it. Anyone is able to get a lunch and is able to get what they need. And then they're able to participate in the wide variety of other services that we provide as well. So we've noticed that it builds a tremendous amount of goodwill among grown-ups, and then it gives kids those happy feelings. And then on Saturdays, they're in as well saying, hey, is there lunch today? And when there's not, then they're usually sad about that, frankly, because it's something that they have come to look forward to and expect from their library, and we're really glad to be able to provide that. As I said, we've got 6 different branches that we serve lunches at, and each one looks a little bit different. On the left is one of our medium-sized branches. They have a nice-sized meeting room. There are tables spread throughout the meeting room. And then to do programming immediately afterwards, all it takes is just a quick vacuum. Sometimes they don't even have time to vacuum, and to turn the tables over. For the most part, the lunches are a lot cleaner than what we thought they were going to be. Families that come tend to understand that this is an important service, and frankly, they want their kids to understand about basic table manners. So most of the families really emphasize that with their kids. You can see that we've got plenty of families that are there hanging out, enjoying the space. Grown-ups cannot eat as a part of the program. This is just for children. Some grown-ups bring their own lunches, but for the most part, parents just sort of spend that as a time for their kids. We also have groups of kids that come by themselves. You'll see up in the corner of that picture, there's a group of dudes over there, and what are they doing? They are cleaning up that table. We set ground rules pretty clearly from the beginning, and kids, in a very profound way, appreciate this service, so they treat it well. Now, the next picture on the right shows just a general setup. This is actually a room she said, I don't have any pictures of lunch, but I took this picture right after lunch. So what they did was they cleared the tables and they cleared the space really quickly, moved everything out, and then had a program immediately afterwards in that same room. So there's a lot of flexibility, and as Tina mentioned, you don't have to have all of your lunches in the room. The requirement is that the lunches stay in one place. So on maybe certain days when there's a program with more prep, maybe we would host a picnic lunch or have it in a different part of the library. But this has been a really wonderful service for us. Last year, the Allen County Public Library served 480 lunches and snacks to almost 14,000 attendees. There were about 2,000 adults that came and didn't eat, but 11,000 kids in the summer got fed because of this program. That is really amazing. And I get emotional thinking about, what would these kids be eating? Would these kids be eating without the summer program? Our discipline problems have gone down, so that's less staff time and energy and emotions that we've had to put into discipline, because just like you and I, kids that are fed tend to be happier. Tina, or maybe it was Marcia, mentioned kids eating all of the candy out of a bowl. That was absolutely something that we had a problem with too. And so now we're able to provide them that food. There's no panhandling. There's less kids that are asking, hey, do you have any money for lunch? I forgot mine. We've had less bullying around money. In general, it has been a phenomenal service. We've learned as time has gone on how to do a quicker cleanup. We have giant trash cans that everything goes into, and we just move that room to the next activity. We really want to be a place where children and families gather, and that was one of the things that Tina said that really resonated with me. So I can't think of any good reasons why you wouldn't want to provide this service, because what it does is it shows just another way that the library is a part of our community. It connects people in a different way, and that's really great. It provides space for conversations, and there's a bonding that happens over and around food, and it's given our librarians a lot of time to get to know families and to get to know the kids that come into their location in a different way. Most of our locations send 2 or 3 staff members to training that's provided by our sponsor, which is the local community school corporation. Those staff members are trained with the very basic things: how to count, how to make sure the milk is served at the right temperature, etc., etc. Other than being physically present in the room, really the extent of our involvement is that when the truck comes in the morning to deliver the food, we're there to greet those staff members, bring the food in, and then wait until right before the program opens. We do just a few opening procedures that are required by our sponsor, and then we're good to go. It's a very simple program to run. Some libraries make their space pretty. They'll use tablecloths, which are nice because then you can just fold up those tablecloths and dump any crumbs or anything like that into the trash can. But most look exactly like what I showed you, very basic, just a simple library meeting room. Yet it's a safe, clean, really relatively quiet, less hectic environment than the parks. I want to make sure that I went over all of my notes to tell you guys today. The only other things that I could tell you would be that a few of the cons that we have had to overcome about this program is that there certainly is a staff time and space investment, but I asked all of the sites, is it worth it? And they laughed at me and they said, absolutely. They have no interest in transitioning back to a space where we didn't serve lunches. And in fact, our sponsor this past year, the summer feeding program ended about a week before school started, and we asked if we could have some additional lunches brought in. In years past, they have been able to, but this year they were not, and our librarians were upset about that, and so we actually specifically gave money to have food that was able to be distributed during that time, because this was something that had been so meaningful. So that's really all that I had to share with you today. I hope that I've told you a little bit about how we do this program here at the Allen County Public Library. And more than anything, I hope that I've convinced you that this is something that you should try at your library, that it is well worth any investment in time and space that you might have. Oh, there's a quick picture. Sorry about that. The Diet Pepsi is not a part of the summer lunch, but these are the kinds of offerings that are available. It's really kid-friendly food, and that's something that we've appreciated. Look, happy kids, happy staff. That's all we want at the end of the day. So that's my contact information. You are more than welcome to give me a call. That's me with a giant tub of icing, because that's my favorite kind of food. So So hopefully that's a little bit of information. I'd love to hear from you if you're interested in any other information about the summer feeding program and its amazing value for your community.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you so much. Let's see, we have Sarah is considering doing it at their library, but wants to see if they qualify. So if she needs to find out if they qualify at their local level, you can contact Tina, which her information was up earlier, but if you need it again, just let us know and we will put it up there again. We have all kinds of questions now. Susan wants to know, Mara, in Allen County, are the daily numbers usually fairly consistent?
For the most part, yeah. When we have a big program, we expect our numbers to go up. But what's really great is that our sponsor is just as flexible as Tina said they would be. So we can call in advance and say, hey, this is our puppet show day. We're expecting twice as many kids as normal. We do ask that child cares call in advance, and then we specifically order lunches for them that day as well. So our sponsor's really flexible and wants to get kids fed wherever they are. So we're able to pretty much predict. The averages that our sites saw across the board was about 37 people at lunch and about 20 at snack. So not a huge crowd, but definitely a substantial crowd. We decided how many meals to start with based on some guesstimation, and then we continually hone that number throughout the summer. So again, it's all about the flexibility and the commitment of our sponsor, Fort Wayne Community Schools, to make sure that kids are getting fed. And I think that's the thing that I've been most impressed with, is that they're willing to put up with a lot of, we thought there were going to be 70, but there were only 40 today. We've got some extra food. But for them, that's a win because those were 40 kids that got fed. So they've been really great to work with.
Great. And we have another question Tina's going to address from Christine. She wants to know, our local sponsor would be about an hour away. Would I need to ask them if they would be able to deliver every day? It didn't seem that was an option.
Yes, I think you can actually reach out to me directly, tskinner@doe.in.gov, and I can work with you directly to determine if that's the only option you have. It may be that you have somebody else that is in the area, because hour away is quite a drive. But there may be also some flexibilities that we can build into the menu that does not require daily delivery, especially if you have some space for refrigeration for milk. But if that's not an option, we can talk about snack that does not require any type of milk or refrigeration. You can still do snacks twice a day, AM and PM snack, for example, and choose items that are non-perishable and don't require refrigeration. So get in touch with me and we'll try to work it out.
And Kimberly wants to know, how do you connect with your sponsor to begin the program? Would that be contacting you also,
Correct.
Tina?
Correct.
So you can just email Tina, Kimberly. Christine also wanted to know, how do you decide how many meals to start with?
I think I would start with just looking realistically what your numbers are. If you have no programming, and let's say the highest foot traffic happens between 11 and 12, then you can start at 11:30. If it looks like your crowds really gather after noon, then we can change that. You just tell your sponsor, hey, starting next Monday, I think we have better turnout. Let's change it half an hour later. And we're very, very flexible. And if you start out with a basic 20 or 30 meals, whatever it may be, and you run out the first day, your sponsor is usually ready to give you more the next day. And if there's any leftovers, they take those back with them. But if it's really fluctuating a lot, again, they can modify the menu to where it's not going to be a lot of waste to your sponsor. For example, if it's Uncrustable, that's part of a meal, peanut butter jelly sandwich that can be returned back to the sponsor and used again the next day if needed. So there are a lot of flexibilities, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a daily delivery either.
Great. Do we have any other questions out there? Several people commenting on how impactful this program can be, and I think that Allen County and Morrow were a great example of just how impactful it really can be. So I hope that some of you are encouraged that it is not as daunting as it might originally seem to be if you're interested in doing this at your library. If we don't have any other questions, I want to thank all of our speakers today, so Tina and Marcia and